Hey guys, welcome to this video. Thanks so much for tuning in, sharing this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos, welcome. Welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness. I wanted to just go into a little flow. Got a lot of energies coming in. I just did a video that was a recap of just some hopefully helpful tidbits of things I've learned along the way. I've had a lot of experience in over the years in the Kundalini activations, in out of body experiences, in yoga, grounding, breath work, meditation. I am an intuitive, which we all are, but I utilize my intuition to help others in their journey. Help is, or maybe offer some expansiveness in their journey, might be a better way of looking at it. I'm an energy worker. I work with energy to help shift the energies in other people's bodies as well as my own. So all of these things I kind of compile together in what I'm sharing in these videos. Sometimes I just go into wordplay and word flow. And the last video I did was a little bit more of a compilation of just my own personal journeying and what I'm witnessing and what messages I'm getting that are important. And so I invite you to go back and look from my perspective to watch that video if you feel called to. It's the previous video to this one. There's Aurora behind me in that video. So in the meantime, I'm just going to go into a flow, and I just drop into a state of flow and allow the guides to share whatever it feels relevant right now for somebody listening. So as we listen, as we tune into our expression, as we allow ourselves to feel into the expression of what is being offered through our senses, through our extrasensory network, we tune into a different type of network, a neural network, if you will, of pathways, sounds, signatures, frequencies, chemical, I'm hearing inductions, that allow us to deduct and read our field, to read the energies or the code of reality that we are all accessing through the breath. For if it were not our breath of life, we would not have life here on this planet. And so there is no real code as to how to breathe, one might say. From another perspective, one must have access to a physical body in order to experience the breath. And in order to come into a physical body, there must be a code of sorts to inhabit the physical body, such as DNA, such as chemical, I'm seeing HTP proteins. There must be energy, there must be electricity and magnetism in order to keep the body and keep the soul, I'm hearing encumbered and encompassed by, encapsulated within the body. And some of us see this as an encumbrance. They see this as a play on words, by the way, as being something that causes them to feel stuck. They feel as if they do not belong in this body. And yet, as they feel this way, they take the next breath in. And we would invite those that may have experienced this feeling to acknowledge that this is what is being felt, and to potentially recognize the gift in the next inhale. That as you breathe in from the inhalation, play on words, I'm seeing inhale, inhalation, the halo, in all hail, like all hail the king. Recognition that that breath is a celebration of being in existence, in this reality, at this time, in this particular place on earth. And while we realize it is difficult for some to feel that way, we do invite you to feel into the capacity of feeling, into the ability to feel beyond the five senses. This will enhance the ability to feel beyond the one thought, the one feeling that is keeping us feeling encased within that feeling. I'm hearing case in point. So what I'm seeing is we might be feeling one thing, frustration. Yet if we can acknowledge that we're feeling frustration, take this breath in from this life, because air is life, ether, water, all of this is life. If we can just take that breath in, allow it to fill our senses, and breathe it out, allowing ourselves to let go of what it was that we might have been only able to sense before, it can help us restore. I'm hearing clear and restore. So clear out the old and restore some of the senses that we're not tuning into, that are keeping us locked in habitual forgetting. Because when we're complaining, I'm hearing when we're complacent, when we're complaining, when we're constantly frustrated and we're not able to break that cycle or that pattern that we have habitually been programmed or programmed ourselves to feel, we are not allowing ourselves to feel more than that. But better spoken, we're not recognizing the program, and we're not recognizing what it is that we could feel more of. Does that make sense? So playing with this a little bit. So we're shutting down our capacity for knowing thyself. We're shutting down I'm hearing our capacitor, our ability to shift the frequencies so that we can integrate that feeling of frustration, so we can finally work through it and allow ourselves to go outside, take a deep breath, smell the pine needles or pine cones. Oh, I'm hearing kiss the pine cone. That's a whole other. So by us utilizing that and going, I might feel frustrated, but I'm also enjoying the smell of these fresh flowers. I might feel frustrated, but I'm enjoying the cool skin on my air or the warmth of the sun on my skin. I might feel frustrated, but right now I can feel the river pulling at my ankles and I can just enjoy that feeling. And this is where embodiment is key, because a lot of people aren't even able to feel that because they're so dialed into programs, what to watch next, how to feel about that, what to eat, who's doing what people are doing to other people, all of this stuff that is not really who we are. And so we invite you to expand your vocabulary about who you really think you are and listen to the words, that's a play on words even, who we think we are. Expand our vocabulary and stop using the same limiting words that have drawn out a diagram, play on words, diagram of what we think our life consists of. And stop following a consistent pattern of self-deprecation. Stop depriving ourselves of the beauty that is all around us. For it is impossible to see on this journey if we are continually looking for things, and I'm just stopping there because they're showing me we're looking for things, what we think is going to make us happy, this handbag, this device. Although I really do enjoy my red light therapy. I'm going to keep saying that. But it's not about things. It's about us right now recognizing our senses that we're experiencing. So touch, smell, feel. It's always about keep it simple. Get back to the basics. We cannot take the leap and be balanced if we are not integrating what it is that we are stuck in or leaping out of or leaping over or leaping towards. Some people will be able to do that because all of a sudden in a moment they're going to take that leap and they're going to be like, actually, I feel good and I don't need to rehash my traumatic childhood. Actually, something has shifted so deeply and so profoundly within me that I realize that that is an old story. That part of myself is now fully integrated. And you can ask yourself, is that true for me now? You can continue to ask yourself, is that true for me now? And if it comes up again later that you feel like, uh-oh, I don't think it is right now because I'm feeling frustrated at my father, as a for instance, or my mother for whatever reason, or I'm remembering second grade when everybody forgot my birthday. And now here it's happening again. That is a good sign for us to pay attention to that frustration. Where is it attached to? What memory is it attached to? And sometimes we need help with this. And so we are inviting everyone to enhance their vocabulary. The way in which we communicate to ourselves, the words we are telling ourselves, and the stories we are continuously continuing to tell the tale of, the stories of, the woes of. You guys, I did this the other day. I felt terrible. I said something. I was rehashing a story about something in the collective. And as soon as it came out, I went, oh, I don't feel so good. Now that's an example of me recognizing, and I had to stop and apologize for rehashing a story that wasn't something that really was relevant. It just came up. It's a program. It was a trigger. It was something I was processing. And rather than me sitting with that and processing it internally or in a dialogue with someone else who might be helpful to process it with, I processed it kind of bleh. You guys ever done that? Said something and immediately regretted that you said it. I was not in flow and I was not being present. It happens, you guys. However, I'm acknowledging that. I did acknowledge it right away. And I thought about it later. And rather than beating myself up, I might have beat myself up a little. I went, okay, clearly I did not integrate that. Where in myself is that something that is triggering my own fear, anger, whatever it is? I'm still processing that, but I've definitely now recognized that. And that's part of the work. That's an example of work. That's an example of us having experience. That's an example of me processing my feelings and emotions and recognizing when my thoughts were controlling me and I wasn't in control of them. And control isn't even the right word. When we're in a state of flow, we allow our extrasensory abilities to be we're in that state constantly. And oftentimes we can be in that state and something throws us off track, which I've been talking about. My guides warned me about this. Sometimes I think the message is for everybody else. I'm like, I am everybody else. This message is for me too, right? Speaking of getting on track. So what it is that we are continually rehashing is important to recognize that is what we're constantly reabsorbing. So I'm being shown when, like farm-raised fish that isn't actually in a true environment where all of the feces are being processed and cleansed out. So a lot of times we don't want to eat that. It's sustainable, but for how long is it sustainable, right? Or how is it sustained? Is it is it sustainable for our bodies to ingest that? And so this is all things to I'm being shown that as an analogy. Like if I'm constantly telling myself over and over again that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, no one likes me, I can't be trusted, I can't feel, I don't have feet, whatever, blah, 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 these words, they sit in our field and we're that fish swimming in our own yuckiness. But that we internalize that and it becomes kind of part of our system. And we're really being called to call it out, recognize that so that it doesn't keep cycling and that we don't sustain that type of frequency consistently, which then is part of the programming that makes us feel frustrated consistently because we haven't recognized yet that we are consistently feeding ourselves this regurgitated energy, patterns, processes, thoughts, cycles. So once we regain our composure, we can then feel the source of where this is coming from. We can feel in our bodies how we are feeling. And we can then interpret those feelings in a myriad of ways that allows us to change how it is that we play with our energy. I got a little distracted, but also I wanted to go back and share that sustainability is kind of a hot word, but what does that really mean? What does that really look like? And to go back into our ability to process information. If we're bogged down by all of these external influences, habit patterns, and unprocessed emotions that we're basically just rehashing, and in essence, when you rehash something over and over again, I'm hearing ignoring in ignorance. So we could play with this, and I'm being called to invite everybody to get out of judgment about the word ignorant or ignorance. We've all been ignorant at times, and we can all still continually be ignorant, as I was in that conversation the other day. In that moment, I wasn't in flow, and I was ignorant of the fact that what I was speaking about wasn't necessarily the most appropriate thing to be speaking about. But as soon as I did it, I went, okay, I actually recognized it as I was saying it, but I couldn't stop myself. But I could stop myself, but I didn't. So I'm hearing in ignorance, and this can be played within a myriad of ways, recognizing that if we're constantly regurgitating this energy, it's just not being utilized or composted, because it is almost like we're not learning our lesson, if we want to say it that basic, right? I don't even like the word learning lessons, because a lot of people say, well, we're here to learn lessons. Maybe from one perspective, that's the case. I don't necessarily feel that we're always just here to learn lessons. We're coming back to a place of love, of loving ourselves, of loving our life, of enjoying the process. And if that means we learn lessons along the way, then so be it. But if we're never actually looking at this junk that we're constantly processing around us, regurgitating is the word that keeps coming up, then it's going to constantly be part of what we interact with. It's always going to be there if we continually to choose to bring it up again. So that's just something to keep in mind. So as we allow ourselves to open up about who we really are and what it is that we really want out of life, that brings us true joy, that makes us feel compassion for ourselves and passion for our work, we are continuously, sorry, I got distracted again, I had some noise out there, but basically what I'm seeing is we're continually reprocessing an old process. So once we realize that those processes are outdated, we can then prescribe to a new process, or we can just dump the old program entirely, integrate it, use the parts that are still usable, and begin anew, begin fresh. I'm hearing refresh, refresh, refresh. So during these difficult countermeasures, play on words, we are being invited to compose a new structure, to find a new composition about how it is that we view our structure, how it is that we are co-creating our new structure, including our physical reality. So this is a reminder that we're not just creating on our physical reality, it's quantum, right? We're creating above and beyond. And this also has to do with our physical body. I did the video I did last video, I talked a little bit about the Kundalini awakening and some of the things we have to be cognizant of as we're going through these processes. And I'm being called to repeat it. I'm hearing repeat it. So clearly this is important for people to recognize. I'm going to give for instance, I'm going to get off this call or this video, and I will be drinking a huge glass of water. I'm going to be putting some salt in the water, some Himalayan salt or Celtic salt, or I might decide to do an electrolyte packet because I am recognizing in my body that I am going through some kind of energetic upgrade. I like to call it that. Or we could just call it expanding or evolution. Or there's a lot going on with the sun today and I'm picking up on it. I'm very connected to the sun. We all are. Some of us feel it more than others. So paying attention to that, they're sharing. So when I say they, it's just my higher self. So I'm just tuning in. Okay, so taking that opportunity requires availability. So requires us to be available for ourselves. Taking that opportunity requires us to give ourselves the compassion and access to water, to foods that balance our bodies, to a diet well intended, and our intentional focus of growth and bliss and joy will continue to allow us to harness the charge and put us back in charge, not only of that charge, that goes back to the video I did previously. If we're having all these awakenings, we're not in control of it, then the charge takes charge over us, basically. But also allows us to take charge of our own reality once again. Takes us out of the passenger seat. Oh, I'm seeing how this is a play on words because some of us are needing to control too much. That's another video. This is more of the reference to people who feel very complacent or stuck. But I'm also seeing that it can roll both ways. So I'm being called to play with both of those. So we can feel like we're not in charge of our lives enough. And so we feel chaotic and out of control. And sometimes it's that requires us to get out of that cycle and that habit pattern. Other times, controlling too much is the problem. And I will do a separate video about this, but I'm going to touch briefly on it. We do the same things. We walk the same way every day. We eat the same foods. We need to have this, that, or the other thing happen. And now all of a sudden, we feel stuck. Part of the reason we feel stuck is because we haven't allowed ourselves to get out of that same cyclical, habitual pattern. And it's created stagnation. Even though it's worked for us up till this point, we're not able to access more because we've boxed ourselves in to a program that did work, but no longer does. In the same way, it's not a bad thing. It might be a wonderful program, but if you're feeling stagnant or you need a shift, it's because you need a shift and that old program isn't working. Change it up. Try some different foods. Go on a different walk than you usually do. Call someone you haven't called in a while. It's about breaking that cycle. And then they're kind of guiding me to go a little further into that and recognize that it's also, if we feel like we have to control everything, that's also creating a bottleneck. So sometimes it is about us just letting go and allowing ourselves to relax. And sometimes we don't do that. So I've talked about like 4 different versions of what people might be experiencing right now. Sometimes we don't let go of that control because we're afraid of what that would look like. We're afraid of not being in control. We're afraid that if we let go of control, we might cry. We might feel. And that's equally dangerous in regards to power as so being in too much control versus not in control at all. We're trying to find that balance and that center point. So it could fluctuate. But so we invite you to reorganize your patterns and get out of the old patterns into new patterns, maybe combining both. But deep within your own structure as a human is a beautiful, sublime energy. And I'm hearing subliminal message inside the body. getting us to say, wake up, try something different. Or if you've never had a program, maybe now would be a good time to start making lists. Maybe would be a good time to start having a little bit of an outline, is what I'm being shown. So that's that balance. So the subliminal, the sublime that is within all, is being harnessed directly through the heart. And as we harness this through the heart, we create an equanimity, an equal opportunity for us to rise above that which it is we see when we are in complacency, beyond that which it is that we see when we are confused. It creates an ability for us to get out of that and to open into more, accessing more. I'm hearing more corridors, more doors, more opportunity, equalizes our frequency. It allows us balance. It changes the balance. It changes the frequency. It allows us to adjust. It allows us to equalize the balance and the harmony that many are not able to access because their heart is out of harmony. And there'll be a lot more on that. So heart math, heart coherence, but also it's really important to get into harmony because of these energies. We can have heart palpitations with this heightened cortisol that comes up, the chemicals that are shifting in our body. But I'm hearing, tune into the subliminal, the sublime in all. Tune into the messages that are coming up from the heart, that are coming up and churning that golden frequency within us that we are asking for most often. And we are not necessarily allowing ourselves to feel or to open that door. It's here it is, will you receive? Here it is, will you let go of the need to control how it looks? Here it is, will you maybe get yourself a little bit more organized so that you can receive more and it's not total chaos? Here it is, can you support your body so that it can find a rhythm? Here it is so that you can try a new pattern that excites you a bit more than the old patterns. Here it is, can you tune into what the earth has to show and share with you? Barefoot on the sand, touching the grass, learning about crystals, going on a tour of some sacred site that's built with natural elements, on and on and on. So, all right, I'm going to end on that note. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully someone found this helpful. In love and light, guys. Namaste.